A lot of you guys don't know, but I do multiple podcasts. I have a technology podcast. It's called TCAST, T-C-A-S-T. You can get that Spotify, Apple. So if you like technology, and we talk a lot of tech leaders with leadership. I just did an interview with the Learning Leader Show, Ryan Hawk. So you can check that out, TCAST. But my other podcast that I really have fun doing, I do it with Alexander McCaig, the CEO of the company that I work with, Tartle, T-A-R-T-L-E. We do a podcast called Higher Density Living, and it's a spiritual podcast. And we talk about things that we're learning, things that we're going through, and we teach those as we learn. We learn, teach, learn. And so today I'm going to I want to talk kind of woo-woo leadership. So if you're not into spiritual or religion or anything like that, I think you can get something out of this. So don't tune this out. But I kind of want to preface this because I'm going to get into like alignment and energy and frequency levels, because I want you to understand you as a person. Like we've already said this 100 times. You're a leader. You influence your kids. You influence the ones that you love. So you're a leader. If you're influencing something, that means you're in a leadership position. So take 100% responsibility and admit that if you're a mom, a dad, whatever, a teacher, you're a leader. You have the opportunity to influence people. So we're all leaders. That's the way I look at it. I want to talk about procrastination when it comes to your energy levels. And procrastination to me is interesting because there's this fight that we have between, and you could call it higher self and ego. You could call it the sin nature and being filled with the Holy Spirit and the spiritual nature, and you have these two that are fighting. The Apostle Paul talks about it in the scriptures. So whatever religion you are, enlightenment, Buddhism, there's different names for this. So you have this ego reptilian mind, that just is like fight or flight, run away, be fearful, worry all the time, protect yourself, seek comfort, always want to have comfort, things that are comfortable for you. That's the egoic mind. And then you have the higher self, this higher consciousness. Whether you believe it's coming from God or the universe or it's Holy Spirit or whatever it is. This higher self, and that's what I like to call it, the higher self, the one that is eternal, infinite, is the one that has the answers for you, but doesn't go against your free will. God will never go against your free will. And it's going to allow you to make mistakes because it's not viewing it as a mistake. It's viewing it as a learning lesson. And this is a testament to how we should, lead our children, our employees, or whoever. We allow them to make mistakes because you don't want to go against somebody's free will because they need to learn. As long as it's not like hurting them or killing them or something like that, of course. If it's physical safety, you want to make sure that. But we procrastinate a lot of times because we believe in the reality of the egoic mind and what it's telling us, the false sense of reality, when the true reality is our higher self. The true reality is that we're infinite beings. The true reality is that we're in alignment with God or the universe. The true reality is that we can be clear in our energy, and that will cause us not to believe in the false reality, in the matrix of the mind, of the ego, but will allow us to be able to ascend those things by focusing on what the higher self is, and that is love. And how is love demonstrated? It's allowing people to not change if they don't want to change. It's allowing people to change on their own way, in their own terms. For me, and I talk about this a lot on the spiritual podcast, I believe we get another meat suit. And so we just keep learning. We just keep getting meat suits and learning and evolving and adapting and getting closer to our higher self at some point. And the frequency, your energy, and that level of frequency that you have is what creates the world that you live in. And everybody's worlds are different. You don't need to force your world. This is the problem that we have in politics and everything else. We're trying to force our world views on someone when it's their free will to choose how they want to live. It's not for us to say that person is right or wrong. It's their free will, and they may do an action, and they may have to pay the consequences in the country that they live in because they go against the laws, and maybe they get in prison. And that was the action that they did. And they will not experience freedom, and they may die in prison, and they'll get another meat suit, and they'll learn that lesson all over again. And I do not need to be involved in that because I take away from that learning lesson. You see, this is a oneness teaching, is that we're all one. And so if we're all one and no one's better than anybody else, and we're just all like snowflakes are mere reflections of God, but each mirror is so unique like a snowflake, and then that we can take our talents and abilities and creativity, and we create this amazing environment that we live in. I mean, see all the things that we've done from, being, primitive to where we're at now. And for good or for bad or whatever you want to view it, we as humans love technology. We use technology, whether we create a plow, whether we create fire, whether we create cities, municipalities, whether we create automobiles and planes and space shuttles and rockets, and, we're getting into spacecraft and interplanetary, going to different planets, all that stuff. All of that creativity is done on a higher frequency, a higher level of energy. And if you can begin to tap into this, and it's tapping into love, if you can begin to tap into this love and respecting people as yourself, like as one, not be narcissistic and say, I'm better than them because I'm their leader or I have a different title. None of those things are reality. The person they are God. They are a reflection of God just as much as you are. And they may not be demonstrating in a way that pleases you or you approve, but they may be at a lower conscious and having to learn that lesson in this body. So if you want to experience a version on earth, then you need to up your vibration or up your frequency. It's like tuning into a radio station. You can turn into 93.3 or you can turn into 101.5. You and your free will have that. And it's not just having positive energy. We all hear that. And there's really no explanation of it. It's just allowing people to be. And then you working on yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, financially, you working on yourself to become a more loving person, to have more humility, to recognize that all is one and you're not the center of the universe, and that you're here to serve others. And that that the only way you can serve others is working out and going to the gym, physical, or going on walks or hiking, whatever you love to do, yoga, meditation, whatever you love to do that creates that high, that taps into that higher frequency physically and mentally. Not focusing on things and not worrying and getting upset over stupid little things, and just letting it go and allowing them to live their life and do their things. And it's not your responsibility. The only responsibility you have is you working on yourself to have more love, to be more selfless. And this will change you dramatically, spiritually. Just recognizing your higher self, and whether it's in prayer or meditation, whether you pray to God or Jesus or whoever, having those moments where you're praying for people, not in a narcissistic way, like I hope that they get better. So many prayers I hear are so narcissistic or are so biased and opinionated. That's not love. If you want to talk Jesus was a prime example of showing unconditional love. And we know this because in the story of him on the cross, what did he say? In crucifixion, the worst death that you can experience, these people took him and put him on a cross to crucify him, and he's dying. And he said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." He understood their level of consciousness was out there, and this is what you're going to do when you're approached. People are going to talk bad about you. People are going to do mean things to you. They may even put you on a cross. They may even kill you. But that's just their unconscious level, and they're going to learn those lessons. The next meat suit, they're going to learn, and you're going to learn too. And that's the beautiful part of understanding this higher frequency, understanding how you as a leader can operate in total love. And just looking at the freedom that is in displaying love and looking at and saying, Like for me, it's like before I have a meeting, I'm always take the time to, relax, pause, say, I want my higher self to be here. I want to demonstrate love to these people that I'm talking to. I don't want to talk a lot. I don't want it to be ego. If they're egoic, I don't want to be triggered and my ego talks to their ego. I want my higher self to talk to their higher self. No matter what type of person they are. No matter if they come off as, in my opinion, as being an asshole or whatever, I don't care. I'm not looking at the external. I know what's internal. They have a higher self, and my higher self can speak to theirs. And that's a magical moment whenever and you guys have felt that spiritually when you're talking to two people and you get this like spiritual moment together, and it's just like such bonding. Alexander McKay, the CEO of Tartle, that we have the Higher Density Living podcast together. We talk about this all the time. We just did a podcast that way. It was like almost an hour, and it felt like 2 minutes, literally, and we were buzzing, like literally buzzing, because it felt so good. And we were having conversations like this, where we talk to each other and walk through it and see the things that we need to learn. They're not mistakes. They're not, if you want to call it sin or whatever it is. And we know what sin is. The Bible's very clear on that. It says it's missing the mark. It's the arrow not hitting the bullseye. And you learn from that. And then the next time you learn a little bit more, and the next time you become more self-aware, and the next time you come more, and you're like, oh, I'm not doing this lesson again. You level up, don't you? You get closer and closer to that higher conscious, that energy that's higher. And so I encourage each of you, find ways to understand what unconditional love is. If you enjoy reading things spiritual, read about unconditional love. There's so many books on it. You can type it online. Get a clear definition of how you can love. What does love look like for you? Like for me, it's not ejecting my opinion all the time. People don't need my advice. If they ask for it, and of course I'll share some wisdom that I have learned, but I'm going to try to do it in a loving way, not me being the teacher looking down at the student, but us being equal in one. Practice this. Practice people that you don't like, and practice loving them, even if you have to love them from a distance. Practice forgiveness and love. Forgiveness is just a recognition of who they are, who their true being is, and that they're not acting out in reality. They hurt you because they're unconscious and they're learning, just as you've hurt other people or done things unconsciously too. It's a beautiful thing to do, guys. And I kind of wanted to share this with you. This is part of what I'm learning constantly, and I'm just trying to demonstrate more and more love, because I know that's the highest vibration to operate in, is love. And I don't want to love in a narcissistic way. I don't want to love in a conditional way. I just want to show unconditional love to those and have the freedom to allow them to be them and me not judge them. And just show the unconditional love. Now, if they're doing harmful things to me, of course, I'm not going to have them in my life. That's showing love to them. It'll give them the freedom. If it's toxic and all that stuff, of course, I have the freedom. I don't have any responsibilities to anyone. If somebody's toxic, whether it's a family member, a friend, or somebody, I'm going to let them go live their life. The minute that you become untoxic and you start showing love to that person, they're going to leave anyways, if they're not ready or receptive to have it. But it doesn't matter. If they're not receptive, that's not for us to force it down their throat. Jesus talked about this when he's talking about sowing seeds, right? And I believe this was on love. He said some of the time you're going to put the seed in the ground, and guess what? It's going to grow up, and it's going to make a beautiful corn stalk, right? And then sometimes it's going to get into ground that takes a while, and it just kind of makes a plant, but not really. And then sometimes you're going to put the seed in the ground, and it's not going to grow anything. And he's like, it's just our responsibility to plant seed, right? It's just our responsibility to love. How the love is responded, that's conditional love. Who cares how your child acts or your partner acts towards you? Now, if it doesn't align with who you are, then you need to get a new partner. Have the balls enough to stand up for yourself and love yourself. I know that this is a relationship. It was maybe 2 years ago, but it's not now. 10 years ago, but it's not now. You see how this works? Love is such an amazing filter, and you will begin to love. Like, you will begin to be able to operate more and more and more in this, and people are going to notice a huge change in your life. They're going to notice like you're encouraging them. You're not downing them. They feel comfortable talking to you. They know that they can just share something with you and you're not going to give an opinion. And you're allowing them to be them and you don't judge them. Who would want a friend like that? Every one of us would want a friend like that. So let's be unconditional love. Let's learn about love. Because a lot of people, what they view love as is conditional love. So I encourage you guys, study unconditional love. Begin to practice, exercise and practice loving people. And get self-aware and figure out like, oh, I loved him this way and I kind of did it this way and this was really cool because I didn't talk when I wanted to talk. I just listened and blah, 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 blah. You'll begin and like, I did this act of service for this person and I know I did it with my heart, with good intentions. It was unconditional. Didn't expect any response back after I did it. With my kids, I did this and this and then, I allowed them to make these mistakes. I didn't step in as the parent. It's beautiful things, guys. So I encourage you. Understand love, gain the knowledge of love, and then practice that knowledge. And I guarantee you, your world will change.
Thank you for joining us on the Albuquerque Business Podcast. And thanks to our sponsor, RigbyDigital.com. Make sure to subscribe and share. And go to abqpodcast.com. Get show notes, resources, and links to everything we talked about today to help you navigate your journey as an entrepreneur and business owner.